Audiobook lecture title: Onision just got arrested. The definition of sentential logic. Audiobook lecture speaker. Quantum chaos. Introduction. This, reposted, is the first message I have posted here on YouTube, and this subject is not my personal field of study. I only learned of this Onision person's existence back around August or September 2019. I sincerely appreciate and admire this community's verve and diligence. However, I have been observing a significant strategic flaw in the collective discourse. That is, of sentential logic and discrete mathematics. Within the last 24 hours, I have seen Onision's last 24 spammed videos. As such, I have been so compelled by this concern that I just created this account in order to convey this message. Without any intended offense to anyone, I say that, without exception, of all of the community's many video analyses that I have seen, failed Morgan's laws. That people continually validate as false premises and statements. I conclude it to be absolutely impossible to give any value of truth to any word of which Onision speaks. It appears to be a blatant attempt to rewrite history, if it were, to the gullible and naive. In that same regard, I cannot resolve any MAC or IP to the Hansen-provided sheriff email packet data from the official suggested reporting website URL. I do not believe that anybody is actively monitoring that line of communication. I believe in law and order. I am not the law. I can give no order. I have only given my evidence. This is a new world. We need new laws. My suggestion would be to compile a list of relevant FBI, sheriff, and police captains, detectives, and sergeants. Email all confirmed recipients the entire video library URLs, of which Onision has made in the last 24 hours. We must never administer our own justice. We may only inform the legal authorities. It is by our laws that we are civilized. It is our human duty to be civil. If I may, let us all allow Our Lady of Justice to render her judgment. Let us all weigh the mountains of evidence upon her scales. Truth will prevail. Therefore, I hereby offer a morsel of my wisdom as to guide and teach the gullible and naive. I will plant the seed in your mind. I will water the soil of your soul. I will cast light on your leaf. However, if you ever wish to attain the enlightenment from the mountain top, as the farmer general, illumination is essential. So, let the initiation begin. I have partitioned this audiobook lecture into the individual sections, by each chapter. Due to the upload limitations of YouTube, and coupled with the inefficient ability to minutely search the video down to precise detail with such a large single file, producing an individual file per section has been the resultant solution. I was going to paste the text here in the description. However, yet again, as to another YouTube restriction, this audiobook lecture contains far too many ASCII characters and supersedes the maximum limit. As such, I will now define the syllabus for this audiobook lecture. The objective for this is to lay out a well-defined and easily referenced course on sentential logic that may assist you on your journey from west to east and east to west as you search for all that is lost. Let these, my brethren, receive the light. Chapter 1, Basic Concepts of Logic. 1. What is logic? 2. Inferences and arguments. 3. Deductive logic versus inductive logic. 4. Statements versus propositions. 5. Form versus content. 6. Preliminary definitions. 7. Form and content in syllogistic logic. 8. Demonstrating invalidity using the method of counterexamples. 9. Examples of valid arguments in syllogistic logic. Chapter 2, Truth Functional Connectives. 1. Introduction. 2. Statement connectives. 3. Truth Functional Statement connectives. 4. Conjunction. 5. Disjunction. 6. A statement connective that is not truth functional. 7. Negation. 8. The conditional. 9. The non-truth functional version of if-then. 10. The truth functional version of if-then. 11. The biconditional. 12. Complex formulas. 13. Truth tables for complex formulas. Chapter 3, Validity and Sentential Logic. 1. Tautologies, contradictions, and contingent formulas. 2. Implication and equivalence. 3. Validity and sentential logic. 4. Testing arguments in sentential logic. 5. The relation between validity and implication. Chapter 4, Translations in sentential logic. 1. Introduction. 2. The grammar of sentential logic. A review. 3. Conjunctions. 4. Disguise conjunctions. 5. The relational use of and. 6. Connective uses of and different from ampersand. 7. Negations, standard and idiomatic. 8. Negations of conjunctions. 9. Disjunctions. 10. Neither. Nor. 11. Conditionals. 12. Even if. 13. Only if. 14. A problem with the truth functional if then. 15. If and only if. 16. Unless. 17. The strong sense of unless. 18. Necessary conditions. 19. Sufficient conditions. 20. Negations of necessity and sufficiency. 21. Yet another problem with the truth functional if then. 22. Combinations of necessity and sufficiency. 23. Otherwise. 24. Paraphrasing complex statements. 25. Guidelines for translating complex statements. Chapter 5, Derivations in sentential logic. 1. Introduction. 2. The basic idea. 3. Argument forms and substitution instances. 4. Simple inference rules. 5. Simple derivations. 6. The official inference rules. 7. Inference rules initial set. 8. Inference rules. Official formulation. 9. Show lines and show rules. Direct derivation. 10. Examples of direct derivations. 11. Conditional derivation. 12. Indirect derivation, first form. 13. Indirect derivation, second form. 14. Showing disjunctions using indirect derivation. 15. Further rules. 16. Showing conjunctions and biconditionals. 17. The wedge-out strategy. 18. The arrow-out strategy. 19. Summary of the system rules for system SL. Chapter 6, Translations in monadic predicate logic. 1. Introduction. 2. The subject-predicate form of atomic statements. 3. Predicates. 4. Singular terms. 5. Atomic formulas. 6. Variables and pronouns. 7. Compound formulas. 8. Quantifiers. 9. Combining quantifiers with negation. 10. Symbolizing the statement forms of syllogistic logic. 11. Summary of the basic quantifier translation patterns so far examined. 12. Further translations involving single quantifiers. 13. Conjunctive combinations of predicates. 14. Summary of basic translation patterns from sections 12 and 13. 15. Only. 16. Ambiguities involving only. 17. The only. 18. Disjunctive combinations of predicates. 19. Multiple quantification in monadic predicate logic. 20. Any and other wide-scope quantifiers. Chapter 7, Translations in polyadic predicate logic. 1. Introduction. 2. Simple polyadic quantification. 3. Negations of simple polyadic quantifiers. 4. The universe of discourse. 5. Quantifier specification. 6. Complex predicates. 7. Three-place predicates. 8. Any revisited. 9. Combinations of no and any. 10. More wide-scope quantifiers. Chapter 8, Derivations in predicate logic. 1. Introduction. 2. The rules of sentential logic. 3. The rules of predicate logic. An overview. 4. Universal out. 5. Potential errors in applying universal out. 6. Examples of derivations using universal out. 7. Existential in. 8. Universal derivation. 9. Existential out. 10. How existential out differs from the other rules. 11. Negation quantifier elimination rules. 12. Direct versus indirect derivation of existentials. Alas, here we are. In conclusion, our obligation is to protect all future victims, the innocent, the gullible, and the naive. Stop validating Onision's false premises and false statements. I want this to be clear, in everyone's mind. Boaz never existed. Do you all understand? Do not, under any circumstance, give any value of truth to any word he says. Again, do you all understand? From entirely every video I have seen, from absolutely every commentator, both by video and by message board. All of your most critical failure is validating his first sentence. This critique is by no means intended as an insult, but rather as guidance and instruction. As a professor, to his students. That may not sound pleasant to your ears, however, that holds no merit to me. Onision has been on the internet for approximately 15 years, and you still validate his false premises and statements? You still worship him as your false idol? You still cannot identify that the root cause for all of his actions is his Oedipus complex for his mother? He missed his mommy, so he framed his daddy. You must think logistically. All you have to do is put the pieces together. Now, I am extremely exhausted. It is time for you all to fulfill your duty, to be civil. Tempus fugit. Tempus ad ex rerum.